Welcome to my fish room.
That come first, because it's in our environment, it's all around us. They're the most opportunistic, but they're not the most efficient. Okay? So that amount of bacteria can only convert this amount of ammonia, whereas the better stuff, which has already been laboratory grown, this can convert all the ammonium nitrate into nitrate right away. Okay? They also have bacterial products now that you can put in the tank that will break down the waste products, the fish waste and all the other stuff, the phosphates and nitrates. Okay? Sometimes you put your fish in there and they don't want to eat. Okay. It's basically it's a vitamin D preparation because it makes fish hungry. Makes them want to eat. You can also add flavors to fish food. They love garlic. Just take the regular garlic, sliced up into pieces, mix it in with your fish food, the oils will go on it, and the strong flavor seems to really attract them. Plus, it's anecdotal, it's never been proven, but people feel that if they feed garlic to their fish, it helps control parasites. It doesn't seem to eliminate them, but if you have a tank and you put in fish that were not quarantined and you got some ick, it helps their immune system, and their immune system can fight off the parasites, and if it does it for 6 months, they become immune to ick. You don't have to worry about ick on that fish anymore. But he's now a carrier. So bring your new fish in that's not immune, you're getting it. Okay? That's why we preach the gospel of quarantine. In freshwater, it's real easy. Copper doesn't really kill anything except inverts. And inverts with an exoskeleton like a crayfish or a shrimp, they're okay with copper too. It's all your snails, and then in the salt water, your feather dusters, your starfish, your anemones, your corals, they can't handle any copper whatsoever. There's one fish, a big group of fish, they can't take copper because it makes them lose their sense of smell. Any idea what there is? Sharks. Sharks cannot have copper in their water because it makes their smell go away, and then they can't find any food. The other thing, sharks and certain fish, like your catfish, your electric eels and all of that, they can't take stray voltage. Because if there's stray voltage in the tank, they use electricity to find their way around, and if you got your power heads leaking, you got a little crack in the wire or whatever, when you touch your tank and you get that tingle, I always hate it when there's water on the floor and you touch the tank. I had this one filter one time that I had it in the tank, get a tingle. Oh yeah, I got some dental wire. That's high quality stainless steel wire that make braces out of? Well, you can use it to ground your fish tank. In my fish room is a steel bars, everything above the fish tanks. So I tied the wire around and stuck it in the tank. Then I got to thinking, wonder what would happen if I touched the water and I took that wire out of the tank. It took me about 3 or 4 seconds to let go of the wire because I couldn't. I'm there going, uh-oh. Yeah, that might not have been my best idea. No, this was not good. And they're thinking, okay, hope my son's going to come soon, he can turn the power off. But no, my hand fell off and then I was okay. But yeah, in retrospect, that was not a good idea. So we keep things all grounded and we don't take it out sticker-handed anymore. And also we took that filter out because it was bad. You pay $5 for a filter, you'd expect quality. Well, the guy was getting rid of them, so there was a reason. Okay, now, the next thing, the most important thing is food, okay? You take this can of fish food, you open it up, you leave the cover off, and you set it up there on your night table, and every day you shake some in. After a couple of weeks, there's no point. Sitting in the open, oxygen oxidizes all the vitamins, all the nutrition, and it becomes virtually worthless. Treat fish food the same way you would your own cereal. You don't leave the box open. You wouldn't eat cereal that you opened up 6 months ago. Well, people do for fish food. Oh yeah, man, I bought that great big bag of fish food. It was like $14. And I've been leaving it sitting there. And it's lasted me 3 years. How are your fish doing though? So, if you do want to buy the big can for savings, bag it up, put it in the freezer, have a small container, and always, always, always close the container. Well, when you feed your fish, it's all about your fish. They tell you, okay? Now, these guys especially are easy because they act like they're starving teenagers. Pizza! Okay? So, you open the top of the tank, and if these fish had been in here for about a week or so and I was feeding them every day, they'd be all right up here. Okay? So you put a little bit of fish food in, and they go crazy. And then you put a little bit more in, and they start to lose interest. They're like, yeah, okay, it's right there, I'll eat it. Stop. They've told you that that's enough. Now, some people say, well, how much do I feed each fish? It varies. If you feed the fish 3 times a day, if you feed the fish once a day, they will eat a certain amount each time. And if your water quality is going downhill, you know, you're a little lazy on your water changes, stuff like that. The water's starting to build up in excess nutrients, phosphates, nitrates, stuff like that. It makes them lose their appetite. And then they don't really eat much at all. So then any food you're putting in is compounding the problem because now they're not eating it, it's all rotting. If you take, say this tank is full of fish and you're used to putting 1 tablespoon of fish food in it, but you take half the fish out, you put a tablespoon in it, then there's rotten fish food. So the amount of food that was safe before is no longer safe. The age of the fish determines as well. Like that fish there is significantly smaller than that fish. But he eats a greater percentage of his body weight than the big fish does. Because he's growing. It's like a teenager. Bottomless pit, you dump the pizza down and, are you awake, son? That's my boy. He finds father fascinating. Okay, so we got a whole bunch of different blends of fish food, etc. like that. Goldfish food, it has vitamins, spirulina, stuff like that. It has stuff that makes their color better. Beta-carotene, it enhances golds, yellows, and reds. Doesn't do anything for blue. I had a customer that bought some painted fish. They were blue, red, green, orange, and the aquarium store sold them some color-enhancing food to make sure they kept that color. I asked the lady, but your fish is painted. Yeah, but this is supposed to enhance the color. So now, it's paint. It ain't getting any better. And as the fish gets rid of the pigments, because some fish can get rid of the pigment very quickly, like a Bella shark, you know, the tricolor sharks, they can get rid of paint in about 2 weeks. Whereas one of those loaches that they paint, it'll take 6 months. A painted glass fish is 6 months, but a painted tetra, you pretty much have that for life. You know those blood parrots? Not all of them are born orange and pretty. Okay? The ugly ones, they paint. They tattoo them. Well, I went to my wholesaler and he said he got some in, and I said, well, where are they? I just watch down the row until you see the tank where the angels are crying. Well, because it's not natural. But the fish ain't a natural fish anyhow. It's a hybrid that we created, and so they paint them. Okay. This here is called RTB, Red Tiny Bites. It's for saltwater fish, marine fish, and freshwater fish that have a little tiny mouth. Some people disagree with feeding flake to fish. There are a few issues with it. One of which it's too fragile. If you feed a big fish flakes, they plump it into their mouth, and then they squeeze the water out of it with their gill rakers, and if the gill rakers are too far apart because the fish is big, all these little pieces of fish food come flying out, and you can't eat them. So you got to feed the fish food that is the size that your fish need. You got some bigger goldfish, you feed them pellets. These guys, the small ones are still eating flake, no problem. The bigger ones, they should be switched over to a pellet. So then what you do is you just feed pellets the whole time. A fish does not have to be able to swallow their food. Some people would disagree with feeding flakes and suggest that their appetite is not sufficiently stimulated by just swallowing flakes. They need to have mouth action so that they can chew the pellet up into little pieces as it softens up in the water, which is more natural because in nature, something falls into the river,